What's up, guys? Before we jump into the one and done video, I wanted to offer up this little contest here as well. I usually offer this up on the DFS video and then kind of forget to do it in other videos. But anyway, each week I give away a weekly subscription or two to DFS On Demand, which is my website. It's all the tools that you see. It's all the research stuff. So if you'd like to enter a draw to win a weekly subscription and access to our Slack channel, two ways to enter. First of all, you can make sure that you are subscribed to the RickRunGood YouTube channel, like the video, leave a comment below, and tell me who is going to win the FedEx Cup playoffs. That's one way. Or you can go over to iTunes. This is especially helpful and gives you a way better chance to win. Go over to iTunes, give it a 5-star review, say something nice. You don't have to tell me who's going to win the tour championship, and that'll enter you into the draw as well. I'll pick a couple each week, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's talk one and done. What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with your one and done preview for the Northern Trust. But before we get into that, let's take a look back at last week's Wyndham Championship and see how everyone did. Here are the 5 highest owned golfers if you're looking at the screen. If not, I will read them off to you. It is Webb Simpson with 377 picks, Victor Hovland 280, Patrick Reed 231, Colin Morikawa 187, and Jordan Spieth checking in at 160. As expected, Webb Simpson incredibly popular. I'm sure it's the most he's been used in any week this year. For the most part, a lot of people got a lot of money because the highest 2 owned golfers finished solo second, solo fourth. So Webb's solo second was like 670 grand. Victor Hovland coming in as solo fourth, that got a couple $100,000 as well. It was a little disappointing to have Patrick Reed, who finished T22. You didn't get enough there. Colin Morikawa, who finished T31. And then if you did have Jordan Spieth, if you were one of those one of those owners who had Jordan Spieth, he went out and MDF'd it. So played 3 rounds, probably got what, 10, 15 grand, something like that. I don't know if you heard, that's my dog scurrying away. Okay, so JT Poston goes out and wins last week, gets the cool, $1.5 million or whatever it was, but only one person owned him. Shout out to whoever that was. So one person got the full amount of money, which is also helpful because, if Webb Simpson was theoretically the best pick, because he was the only one that anybody actually owned. So you're only losing ground on the field to one guy who had the winner. But for the most part, if you had Webb Simpson, you got like the max that was available to be distributed, so to speak, if you kind of look at it that way. So no one made up much ground on you Webb Simpson owners. Fortunately, I did have Webb Simpson. I just had him in the wrong lineup. I actually thought that I had this flipped. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, no, this is right. Okay, so I have my weekly lineup and my season long lineup. My weekly had Brandt Snedeker in it for 22,000. He finished, I don't know, T20 something. My season long that I decided who I was going to play back in January had Webb in it, who got 670 grand. Now the problem is, now both of those are basically, they're almost identical to each other. One has 5.9 million, one has 6.1 million. They're in like 1,000th place. But the thing was, so let me see if I can do this. I was in a decent position in segment 4. And my best lineup in segment 4 was my weekly lineup. And I thought as we were going through this week that I had Webb in that lineup, and it would have given me over $2.1 million, and I would have jumped up significantly. Unfortunately, I didn't. I had Webb in my season-long lineup. So it really just made them, again, even for segment 4. So now they both have 1.4 million. They're both basically in the top 300, so the top 10% of this, but it would have obviously been awesome to be able to have Webb in my weekly lineup instead, it would have put me at 2.1 million, which I think would have been like 30th or 35th place, something like that. And we would have a really good sweat going for the final 3 events if I could try to overtake segment 4. So a little disappointing there, but we've got 2 lineups in the top 10%, which I suppose is not end of the world. This is usually now where I would go on and we talk, excuse me, talk about my picks for this week. I will give you my picks for this week, but I've done a lot of video content on the reason behind the guys that I'm going to be playing this week. So just scheduling notes. I had a DFS video for the breakdown of the DraftKings slate that went out yesterday, Monday. I have I went on the Smash Factor, so the live stream and podcast for Gup's Corner last night. So that aired last night. You can find it on their YouTube channel. So went through with Bucks and JB to break down the slate as well. I also have a hour-long betting show that will air tonight for the first time on sportsgrid.com at 7 Eastern, and it will re-air. So there's a lot of information out there on who I like and who I don't like. What I want to use this time for is to talk a little bit of strategy as we come down the stretch here, because this is really the time of year. If you have not already done this, you really need to be thinking a few weeks ahead. And I'll show you what that means for me. But as these fields get dwindled down from... Dwindled down? Dwindled down? I think that's the word. Someone will tell me in the comments. Let me know. As they go from 125 to 70 to 30, you're going to lose some options to play. And if you're like me, especially in my weekly lineup, I have not saved anyone. I tried to go pedal to the metal from the start, and I just always assumed there was going to be someone available later in the season. And for the most part, that is the case. But this is the time of year where you got to have someone in your back pocket, because if you show up to the Tour Championship and you don't have anyone available, or the only guy that you have available is Sung Kang, like, you're not going to make any money that week. So let me show you what this means for me, because I've basically used everyone in my weekly lineup. So if you are watching on the video, I'm showing a spreadsheet right now. If you're listening on the pod, I will just describe this to you. And all I did was 2 things. I went to this download as CSV button, which is available on Gup's Corner's website. So if you go to the leaderboard on Gup's Corner, you can download everybody's picks in a CSV file and manipulate them and do whatever you want. So I just exported that and I just grabbed my picks. And I put all of my picks here in column A. So here are the 29 guys that I have played. And then I also went to the PGA Tour's website and I pulled the current FedEx Cup standings. And then I cross-referenced those lists and kind of just put, a red box on the guys that I have already used. So if you look at this, if we go down to the top 7, so I brought it down to 70 here, because this is what we're going to get cut down to this week. So someone like Matt Wolf, who I could theoretically play next week, he's number 70. So like if he does not have a good week this week, he might not make it to next week. So you have to be aware of that. But what I'm really concerned about is this, the top 30, which is the Players Championship. Now, if you look at mine, I have already used, I've already used 18 of the guys who, if the season ended right now, would be in the Tour Championship. So just very, very quickly, I've used the top 11. They are Koepka, Rory, Kuchar, Xander, Woodland, Cantlay, DJ, Paul Casey, Webb Simpson, Jon Rahm, Justin Rose. That's the top 11 golfers. I've also used Ricky Fowler. I've also used Finau, Justin Thomas, Bryson, Adam Scott, Tiger, and Hideki. Those are the guys that I've used. So now when I look at this week, I need to leave one of these guys. Okay, so assuming this is who shows up at the Tour Championship. The bottom of this list are guys that I would not want to play in a one and done with 30 players. So I don't want to play Sung Kang, who's in 29th. I don't want to play JT Poston or Scott Piercy or Ryan Palmer or Sung Jae or, I guess, and then it gets like Kevin Kisner's here, Francesco's here. But I'm not comfortable playing any of those guys in a 30-man field where every single one of the best players is going to be there. So what I think I have to do is this. I have to save Fleetwood. So I can either play at the Tour Championship, Leishman, Reavie, it's something I don't want to do, Charles Howell, Tommy Fleetwood, Shane Lowry, Kevin Kisner. It's very clear to me that Leishman and Fleetwood are the two best golfers on that list. And it's pretty clear to me that Tommy Fleetwood has the highest upside. Tommy Fleetwood is the guy that could actually, in my opinion, theoretically win the Tour Championship. So I have to save him for East Lake. So spoiler alert, that's who I'll be playing at East Lake. Now that allows me, I could use Leishman this week. I could use, Reeve, or I could use, I guess, any of these guys outside the top 30 who are in the top 70. I could play Billy Horschel. I could play Colin Morikawa. But I'm going to save them for next week. I think Morikawa might be a guy that I look at for next week, depending on how he plays again. So I have options next week, but I don't want to use like Fleetwood this week, Leishman next week, and then be stuck playing Charles Howell at the Tour Championship. So that's kind of my thought process. I highly encourage you to go through and do the same thing for yourself. And when we come back next year and do this, I'll make another video about how I scheduled it out for the whole year, which is an awesome exercise. I encourage everyone to do it. We'll talk about that. But and actually, I kind of cheated a little bit here. I've already marked the guy that I'm going to play this week. He's already marked as red. So this week, who I have in my weekly lineup is Webb Simpson. He's one of the hottest players on tour. I think a lot of people used him last week. I think I'm going to get him in a very good situation this week, but at a fraction of the ownership because everyone just used him. And there's so many other good golfers in the field here that you don't necessarily have to use Webb. So I'm going to use Webb here. He's going to be the last guy in the top 11 that I have not used yet in terms of FedEx Cup standings. And then actually in my season long, I had Brandt Snedeker lined up for this spot. So last week we went Webb in lineup 1, Snedeker in lineup 2. This week we're going Snedeker in lineup 1, Webb in lineup 2. And that's the way it goes. So let me know what you think about that, who you have left for the rest of the year. Tweet me. It's at RickRunGood, or leave a comment below. Later.